Let us assume your assignment is to research Nagios. The most obvious thing is to type Nagios into Google. You will get some pointers about Nagios. You have to identify the right Nagios system. And as you can see, there are a variety of websites. Some do some advertisements, so I typically don't go to them. I take a look at the other ones and the keyword that is appropriate. So we have, for example, a Wikipedia entry. We have here the Nagios website, .org and a .com. So apparently maybe there's some commercialization going on. So let's go to the .org site. And we can see this is an infrastructure monitoring tool. The likelihood that this is the right thing is pretty high. So I can take a look at this and read up on this and write a paragraph about what Nagios is about. But I also would like to find academic papers. So I maybe want to go to Google Scholar. And there we find some information. There's even a book there, so maybe we should take a look at the book. And maybe there are even more books out there. I could be looking on Amazon. And as you can see, there are many books related to this topic. You could be choosing one. It would be an important issue to preview the books. Sometimes you get them actually for free as a preview so that you can evaluate if they're actually useful for you. Now, once you have done all this research, you will probably write up a paragraph about it. So I have already put such a paragraph into my Emacs editor. And, this was actually being provided by a student. So we see here what the student has written. And Nagios is a platform, and so forth and so forth. One of the things that we often find is words such as Nagios is the best platform for saving the world and doing everything that you could ever imagine. Naturally, that is an advertisement that is being populated by the original resource. You should be making it more standard and remove such phrases because they are not actually helpful. So one of the things that you will see is I have put citations in here. So see, for example, Nagios site and Nagios book and Nagios paper. This seems all to be very good, but I think it's best to just use all citations lowercase, and because it's the site, we just simply do www.nagios and put this as our reference. So this way we are always consistent and we don't have to worry about capitalization, and we always know it's lowercase. So maybe we do this Nagios-book, and we do Nagios paper. Often it's a nice idea to issue the date because there could be multiple papers there. So maybe we do paper and then take a look when the paper was being written. It was written in 2012. So paper 2012. One of the important other things is we need to be making sure that we are using quotations correctly in our text. So make sure that you figure out what the distinction is between plagiarism and copying context. And in order for us to avoid plagiarism, we need to be quoting properly if we were to be citing whole sentences. We also need to be putting the reference in case we were to be doing such citations. In addition to this is when we upload this later on onto GitHub, we would like that all paragraphs are essentially 80 characters at most long. So because I'm using Emacs, I can use the escape character and say escape Q can format this particular paragraph to be 80 characters long. And this helps in the review process on GitHub and manage our pages. In addition, as you can see, is we have previously looked at some references that I have already introduced here into this page. We will be uploading this slightly different when we do the upload. But this way I have everything on one page, and now I can see, okay, what do I need to change here for my references? And the important is the citation key. So I do www-nagios, so I can cite that particular reference. I said we have here also Nagios book. So I correct this. And then we have here also Nagios paper. And we said we wanted to add the year so that we have some feeling about when this has been done. So this is an easy way for me to manage bibliographies. As you know, you ought to be doing this with JARPref, which is simplifying this for you. And as we can see here, the contribution from the student is using an how published in the MISC field. But that is actually wrong. So what we want to do is we want to correct this. How published is actually web page, because it's published as a web page. So let's just do this and comma, and then the URL that we actually have is the URL that is being here specified by the student, and that is actually our entry. We also put an accessed information here in our node. One of the things that we need to now do is trying to verify if our bibliography references are correctly formatted. In Emacs, you have, if you were to be putting them into a bib file instead of an RST file, you have formatting abilities. So let me just do this. I'm just splitting this now up. I take this content. Now I create a file that's called nagios.bib. So now I have copied this, and as you can see, I have the entries in. Let me make it a little bit bigger. As you can see in Emacs, you have here a bib file now. I'm saving it. Now there are some extra entries up here. I can simply say operation on the buffer. Maybe it's a good idea to validate the entries. So they seem to be, the buffer seems to be syntactically correct. Maybe one of the things is I would like to reformat the entries. And as you can see, now the entries are nicely reformatted. So as you can see, this seems to be working quite well with Emacs. So however, we have also JARPref. So first you have to create a database. So let's create a database. We'd like to add an entry. So there's a plus entry. In our entry, as we saw, we have a MISC entry. So now we can put in our required fields here, for example. But we could also go visit the BibTeX resource, and we have already started doing this by hand. We just take this particular entry, we copy it into our field in JARPref. We can now revisit our required fields. We see Nagios. Then there are optional fields. Author, we have no author. We have a web page. We don't have a year that's recommended. We have here a node. We have a title. And we have additional fields. Here DUI is somehow requested at one point, but we don't have a DUI, but we have a URL. That's what we can do. While the owner, I actually put now my HID in there. So let's just say my HID is TA-spring 2017 or 17 dash 0001. And now as abstract, I could be putting in my abstract that I have actually posted in my content. So let's just put our abstract in there. So I put this, I copy this entire abstract. I put this entire abstract in here. Review, yes, I could be adding here why it's useful for me, but let's just assume we don't do this. When I then revisit our web page or our full field for this, I can see that I have now added the abstract and an owner field is being added. This way I can actually identify who has written what in the reference, and you will be getting credit only if your owner field is being mentioned in there. I can save certainly this into a database. Let's just assume I save it on my desktop and call it maybe here nagios.bib, and I save this. Naturally, I can add all my other entries to this the same way. So let's go back to our bib file. We have a book. I copy it. I create a new entry. It's a book. Go to the field. I highlight this. I passed it. Now I can inspect the required fields. Here, this looks good. There may be an editor needed in case there's an editor, but this one probably doesn't have one. We have all this information here, the general stuff, the abstract, and so forth. So we have the entry. So now we have this in proceedings entry. So let's copy that also. We copy the in proceedings. We add a new entry, say in proceedings. Go back in here, pass this. We move in here. And the only thing that I have forgotten now is I've forgotten to add the owner field. So let's just figure out where the owner field is. It's here. So I have TA spring 17-0001. Copy this so that I can reuse it the next time for the other entry. And here's the owner field. So now we are ready to upload this information into our website, because we have now our bib file created and our RST file that has the content. One of the important things that we want to do before we actually upload our content to the repository, we need to actually check out if it actually works locally. Because it doesn't make any sense to submit anything that doesn't actually work. So in order to do this, you need to have Python 2.7.13 installed, and you need to have pip installed, and we are using a virtual environment that is being set to Python 2. So you can check this with Python -- version. And here we see it's Python version 2.7.3. Now we would like to install the requirements. I'm not sure if we have yet everything correctly configured here. Let's try it out. Pip install -r requirements. This will download strings and all the packages that we are using here in this particular environment to set it up for our creation. There's also information on the web page about this, about the makefiles, and you can certainly go to the repository and take a look at it. There's also documentation from how do you contribute to the website that you could be revisiting. Now it seems to be having worked. So one of the things that we would now want to do is we want to see what our makefile looks like. And here in our makefile we have a doc. We can create a PDF. We can view the PDF. We can view things. Don't use the publish command because that's only for the maintainers. We can create a log if we want to take a look at it. But the log you don't have to commit. That's something that we typically do. So please don't commit changes to the changelog file. So what we now do is we simply say make. Let's see if everything will be building. And as you can see, this is a command to build Sphinx is sphinx-build. Installed a Sphinx on our system. Now, in order for us to synchronize the repository with our local text, it's always good to first do a pull. So say git pull. We merge our changes. Now we need to be executing our let us create the website. Remember that we need to be in our virtual environment to activate all this code that we have downloaded. And we simply say make. And we have an error in our refs.bib, which is good probably. Now let's try to fix our refs. I already know what the error was. I put that in on purpose. So let's go into the docs directory and the source. And here we have refs. And one of the things I did on purpose is I omitted a bracket closed here at the end, so the refs would be not coming up properly. So I do again a make. So as you can see, I can now correct things because it didn't build. If it's not building on your system, it will certainly not build on a remote system. So we will fast forward now to the end. Now the build is finished. Now let's take a look at this. Our makefile contains a make view. So simply say make view. The website is being locally displayed. As you can see from the link, we go to our website. We go to the technologies page and look for Nagios. And as you can see now, Nagios has been added as an entry to our information. In addition, we also see here our references have been added to our reference sections automatically because they are built into the web page. This is how you can check if your contribution is correctly before you check in. Thank you so much. Let us assume we want to now upload our homework to our class repository, the first thing I need to do is somehow clone or fork the repository. So I go to Google and search for our class. Let's do this. So we find the link. We go in here and we are going to fork this particular repository into your local GitHub, but you need to be signed in. Once you have logged in into GitHub, you can see this, that your icon, your avatar maybe here showing up. You need to fork the repository. So I'm now forking this repository. Now this will take some time. So now, as you can see, there's no longer my organization CloudMesh, but my username Lashevsk. You will have your own username, and this is a directory that I can actually clone. So I can go ahead and clone this repository. So there's a link here that I can actually use. I want to use this with SSH, so I copy this link, and I need to do this now in my command shell. So let me make this shell a little bit bigger. So I need to figure out where we want to actually store this information. Let's create a nice directory. GitHub. I recommend to name it like this because then everybody has a consistent directory. I go with in this directory. Now this directory is empty, but I can now say git clone and clone this repository. I add this to this, and I have forgotten to upload my public key, as you can see. So because this is a brand new computer, or if you have a new virtual machine, you really need to be creating first the key and upload that key. So what I have to do is I have to say SSH, or maybe in another window, SSH keygen -c for comment, and then maybe my email. Now I have to just accept the default. It's important that you specify a passphrase. I specify here my passphrase, and now I can upload my key. My key is located in the directory .ssh. As you can see, there's the public key. So somehow we need to be adding our key, and you find this under settings. You see there's this SSH field. I have already one key uploaded. Now I upload a new key. So maybe I call it a new key. Cat the key. And here it's important that you use the public key. I copy this whole key. I passed it in here. And I add the key to GitHub. Now, hopefully when we go to our other window, where we issued our request, we can issue it again. Now it asks me for my passphrase. And I remembered it. And now it downloads it. So this should now download the classes directory. And one thing that we may want to do is since this may be related to CloudMesh and the class, we maybe want to move it into a directory i524 maybe, or better, I do CloudMesh because it's part of the organization CloudMesh. And then I say mv classes to CloudMesh. So this way I have all the repositories that I may want to have from Cloud Mesh in one directory. So I go there and have this. So now I can start editing my my classes directory. So as I use Emacs, I just use Emacs here. There we have a directory created that's called GitHub. As you can see here, Cloud Mesh classes. And that's where my content is. I go to the docs directory. I go here to the source directory. I find now our class directory, and in here there's a file called technologies. I go to the technologies page. Now I'm searching for Nagios. I find Nagios in here. As we already had previously created our Nagios text. So you copy the content. As you can see, everything is now here included. This is actually an RST document, so we need to be making sure that the indentation is correctly. So I'm going over here, and it's easy to do this with Escape Q. It automatically lines it up, so you don't actually have to do much work here of the indentation. It puts it just at the right space. Now that we have uploaded the paragraph, we also need to be adding our bibliography. There is here something that's called refs. So we go in and into refs. So let's save this file. And it's called Nagios bib. Let's double check that we save database as because we want to save it maybe in our desktop so that we can easily find it. We call Nagios bib. So we load our Nagios bibliography in there, and we can tell this has been created by Jabra. If we see a comment on there, we see our owner fields, and so that we get credit for this. So we copy the content between these two fields. We go to our refs bib. We go at the end of the refs bib and paste our entries in here. And now we have our entries added. We save it. And now we need to be committing our changes to our repository. The important thing is that we use something that's called git changelog. There's a particular mechanism for us to augment our changes to the Git repository with some metadata. And that metadata is useful for us to, for example, nicely look at Git logs. So if you, for example, say Git log in our repository, that way we need to be standing in the repository. And we say Git log, and we see the last entries. But somehow this is a little bit unreadable. And if you actually take a look at our changelog that you find not on the main directory, but in docs sources changelog rst, this is more nicely formatted. We have new features, other features, fixes and changes that are being communicated. And so this is more readable than what we have as a normal Git log. So the way we do this is we put some metadata in the commit. So if you say, for example, git status, we now see that we have changed the technology, and the BIP file and the Nagios RST file we actually don't need. So because we have just added it to our technologies, so don't check that in. So now we simply say git commit -m. And now it's important, what we need to do is we added something new, and this is for everybody to see, so for every user. If you were to write in here dev, this would not show up in our git log. So, but we want to tell everybody in class that we added a nice description about Nagios. Now we can say add description about Nagios. Now we should also specify explicitly the file, just in order to avoid any mistake on this. So I specify this particular file. And as you can see, I have actually forgotten to set up my global username and my account. So I should probably better do that and simply say global user email. This has to be only being done once. Don't forget the quotes. So now I have added this particular information to my repository. I can say git status. And as you see, I still have one outstanding file, so that I need to be changing. Oh, that's naturally in a different directory. And if I say now git status, I have this. Well, since I've added it, maybe I want to get rid of this unnecessary file. So I say I delete this so that I'm not being disturbed by this. Now it's being deleted. So if I say git status, everything seems to be fine. Git push. Ask me for my password. And as you can see, it's now being pushed into my repository. So the one thing that I should do now is I should be revisiting my repository. So I go to my information. I have somewhere a directory that, how many repositories I have. One of them is on my local clone, as you can see here. And I can see the commits. And as you can see here, the commits have a new user up here. And that's really important. All commits should have such an information, should start with things that new, fix, or change, or user and dev. If you don't do this, we will be rejecting this. As you can see here, some students have not done that, and typically we should have rejected them, but in the meanwhile, we have accepted some of these changes, but we will be rejecting yours if they don't have a new or fix or a change and a user. This is valid for every request that we will be adding to our repository. So now that we have actually done this, we need to be creating a pull request. This pull request is being issued. You should be reviewing now your pull request. It's supposed to be put just into master because there's no complicated stuff that we need to be having a secondary branch here for this time. I can see here a portion of this particular file. I can see that I added my thing nicely to Nagios. I see that here maybe modification took place on Mahout because of an extraordinary space that has been done. That seems to be fine, so I don't have any issue with that. And then I see my content is being added to the particular web page, and I can simply say create the pull request. Now I do it again. I add something new, dev, add Nagios explanation, and then you leave a simple comment. So now we can create a pull request, and as you can see here, it's nicely done. We have a new dev, add Nagios explanation. Each of the separate check-ins that we have made, or commits that we have made, have a new and a user. If that's not the case, you have to redo the check-ins with this augmentation. So it's best to do this slowly and to remember that that needs to be done. There's a review required. People will review your request, and once it's been reviewed, it will be merged, and you will be getting credit for it. You will not see immediately a grade. It takes us maybe some weeks to grade you on this, but that's more or less a pass-fail on this at this level, and people will read your Nagios text and maybe make corrections to them. They may read your bibliography and may make comments, and you may have to correct them. Or you can even see what the status of your check-in is or your pull request. So let's go GitHub Cloud Mesh classes again. So remember, this is a different repository. As you can see here, this is the Cloud Mesh. This is the upstream. And as you can see, there are two pull requests in here. One is one from a student, which we will be rejecting because it actually did not follow the new and the dev syntax in order to allow us the changelog activity. It also had an issue on how do you report the URL in the MISC fields. So a comment was being issued, and the merge is blocked because changes are requested here, and you have the opportunity to correct these changes, and after they are corrected, I can approve. And with this you have completed the homework assignment number 1, and we will be notifying you, or you can actually double check in the repository if your homework is accepted at one point. Thank you so much.